What up? Uncle Benji here. Welcome back to the channel. We got a video today that I'm really excited about. It's an artist that I have not featured on the channel yet, haven't had a video yet, and it's kind of surprising to me because definitely one of my favorite artists in the world in the last several years. Been one of my favorite artists, the Midwest's own Boldy James. And you can see I have a record back here. This is an album he put out last year, Criminally Attached, that was incredible album, one of my favorite albums of the year. He was my rapper of the year last year. He put out so much material. But we're going back to kind of the genesis of when I became a Boldy James fan and the first piece of physical merch, CD or vinyl I bought from him. And that would be in a CD form. And that's this album right here, my first Chemistry set. And this album was a collaboration with The Alchemist, which was really exciting. This came out in 2013, and I had just gotten into Boldy's music a couple years before that, or about a year and a half before. I kind of was looking back through some old message board posts and saw that it was back in probably the fall of 2011 when Boldy James first crossed my radar. He had a mixtape, his first like real mixtape that got out there that was called Trapper's Alley Pros and Cons. And that came out in May of 2011. So it took a few months for it to get on my radar, but on the message board, a lot of us were talking about him as an up-and-coming artist, whether he was legit or not in the thread, and almost everybody was saying legit, you know. And I even made some comments at the time looking back on it, like I was a little harsh on him. I complimented his voice and his flow, but said it wasn't really, you know, what I was used to listening to music-wise, and I hoped he could grow. And man, he certainly has grown a lot, but the early music was still really great. Didn't always have maybe the best production. There's a lot of stuff in that mixtape area. You have sprawling projects with 25 songs and all sorts of features and some new beats, you know, some reused beats. The quality's not always consistent, but it was clear he was a real talented guy. And he put out another mixtape in 2012, Consignment Favor for a Favor. This was in early 2012, and he was putting out a lot of videos around this time too, which that was, I think, really what got me into him, is just seeing his videos, seeing his confidence on the mic, the way he carried himself. It was some real authenticity to Boldy. It was after this came out, because it took a while even after this for him to get near the type of level and buzz that he has today. Like for an Alchemist project, this is pretty slept on, but Alchemist was moving at different speed, wasn't putting out nearly as many projects at the time. I mean, this was put out through Decon and Mass Appeal, so it wasn't on Alchemist label like everything he does nowadays, where he just puts stuff out directly. But you know, this, I forget when it got announced, how far in advance it got announced that Boldy was going to be working with Alchemist, but man, it was super exciting because he put out these two mixtapes that I really liked, like all his music videos, but it was hard to listen to the projects from beginning to end and really cherish them. I was looking for, you know, a focused album, and that's exactly what Boldy and Alchemist gave us with this album. You can listen back to it, and both of them have enhanced, leveled up their sound since then. I mean, this is 2013, so we're looking at like almost 13 years, you know, since this came out. A lot has changed since then. There's some crazy features on here at this time. Some work better than others, but it was just kind of the climate. There wasn't as many people rapping, in my opinion, back in this era. You know, there was still music that I really liked, but just the amount of quality rappers, it's just a lot easier for people to just record stuff in their bedrooms now, put it out there. A lot of artists have their own labels or work with friends who have their own labels. You didn't have to get connected with the label. So it was very different. I mean, he's got a song on here with Action Bronson that's very entertaining, but I mean, two very different style rappers. I'm pretty sure they've had songs together since then, but it's, you know, definitely different from the type of features and the way that Boldy moves nowadays, where he's very honed in on his specific street sound and the type of artist that he works with. There's a song on here with King Chip out of Cleveland and Freeway that's, again, kind of a strange collaboration with different artists from different areas coming together to make a track, but still a great track. You got a Vince Staples track on here that's the best feature on here, I think. Like, this was an era where I was a really big Vince Staples and Odd Future fan, and this fit really well together. Just the ice cold nature of Boldy and Vince Staples and their street tales and storytelling, and the beat that Alchemist has on this track, like, really, really works well. My favorite track on here is 400,000. The beat and just Boldy's approach on it, to me, is more reminiscent of some of his future work. Very detail-oriented, straightforward street stuff. I mean, he has a line on here where he says something to the effect of, you know, you're making money once you spend $1,000 on an outfit. And I always love that line because in the grand scheme, you're making a lot of money. Like, $1,000 really isn't a ton of money. But I know for the average person, I'm very much an average person, spending $1,000 on an outfit is not something I've ever done in my life. I may never. Might find one piece of clothing. Oh, I would spend $300 on that or something, and that's like a big ticket item, and I hope to have it for years. But that's just that's less than a third of a $1,000 outfit. And I like nice shoes and I like nice clothes and things, but these things are expensive. So you really get in the head of someone like Boldy at this time, where he's making a lot of money, doesn't know exactly what to do with it. He's going to the outlet, buying all these True Religion jeans and stuff like that. Really thinking like, hey, I have the money now, I can use it. I can spend $1,000 on an outfit and not feel guilty on it. So it's, a lot, again, the authenticity, the truth telling of Boldy. He really gets you into his world and his life. And it's just continued so much, I mean, over the years, to think, looking back on this album now, that loved this and thought, man, this album with Alchemist, guy was just making mixtapes. You'd think maybe this would be the peak of his career. Back in 2013, people weren't like super prolific. Again, because people weren't putting out stuff on labels, they needed help. They're kind of being forced to work with artists that may not make the best artistic quality stuff. So it was a very different era. But since that time, I mean, Boldy is just, last year he put out 9 projects. They were all like at least good, and most of them were incredible. And he's been on a run for the last several years now where he's putting out multiple projects every year. The quality never seems to go down with Boldy. He's just a machine for this rap stuff. And it's not just the rapping, again, going back to the authenticity. I mean, this guy has lived a real life in the street coming out of Detroit. I mean, he has a song on here, KY Jelly Beans. He has a lot of references to going across state lines, going to Kentucky, driving, having cops tailing you, being in these situations that he's lived through, highly stressful situations. And he's come out from, if you listen to his music and his songs and what he's done in his life, he's come out pretty unscathed. He's had a lot of friends that have ended up in jail or dead, or victims to the drug trade that he's involved in. But he's like some of the people I've mentioned on the channel before. He's a very smart dude, and he puts a lot of that into the way he lives his life, whether it's in his music or if he's on the street doing illicit things. Like, he makes good decisions even despite putting himself in harm's way. And we reap the benefits from, getting to hear these stories and tales that Boldy continues to give us, the details, the references, the knowledge. I mean, I turned a lot of people on to Boldy through the song Moochie on here, nickname Moochie, where he nicknames all sorts of different slang in his life. Some of it's drug game related, some of it's just other street stuff from that time. And he's always got slang and lingo in his work that makes me want to like, what's that? Maybe I want to pull that up on my Urban Dictionary. And I've gotten to the point where I understand it pretty well and what he's saying and the references he makes. And it's crazy that he keeps putting out the amount of material he does and doesn't seem to repeat himself. And when he does get with a good beat maker, it's almost guarantee that the album is going to be top shelf material. Rapping, his hooks, his verses, everything is always on point. Like, after this album, there was a long period though where you didn't hear much from Boldy. Like, he didn't put out more material with Alchemist until end of 2019, 2020, where he put out a Boldface EP that was leading into The Price of Tea in China, which is to this day still my favorite Boldy James project with Alchemist. I mean, especially the deluxe version of that album, just an absolute masterpiece. But he was putting out mixtapes in this time in between. may have still been in the streets doing stuff in this time. But this is 2013 up through like 2019. The music scene was still kind of becoming what it is today. Vinyl wasn't quite selling the way it was. I don't think that art was as a big of a moneymaker as it could be for a lot of people if they kind of have the business model of sell direct, press vinyl, press merch, do it yourself, you know, how everybody does it now. People are just kind of discovering that. So I think Boldy took a step back, was away for a while, and kind of realized like, hey, that album I did with Alchemist like really was special and got me into a certain type of audience of people that not just like my music, listen to a mixtape, but want to support it, you know, want to buy vinyl, CD, want to buy the merch. And a lot of us who have been Boldy fans for a long time and love this album would love to see it get pressed on vinyl one day. So Al and Boldy, if you ever watch this video, we would love it. I know you already know that. I know there's a lot of work always coming. There may be issues with this not being on Al's label originally that makes that more difficult to do, but I'd love to see it one day and add it to my ever-growing Boldy James record collection. Out of all the artists I have, one of the largest collections I have is my Boldy James collection. He's absolutely one of my favorite artists out there. And, you know, thinking back on this era from 2011, 2012, and then when this came out, it was really exciting, you know, and while it didn't directly lead into him and Al releasing a bunch of music right after this, it came back around, and they've released multiple incredible albums, just like he has multiple incredible albums with Nicholas Craven, in addition to all the other EPs and albums that he puts out there. It's just staggering. Alchemist tweeted out recently that someone asked him about a Boldy album, and he was like, wait till you hear this shit. Like, so there's another Boldy Alchemist album on the way. The pace, especially since Boldy had a car accident a couple years ago, since he recovered from that, he's been a man on a mission. Just really locked in and dialed in. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised. He had 9 albums last year. I wouldn't be surprised if he has another 7 or 8 this year, because he just keeps working. He just keeps working. And again, we are the benefit of it. So, you know, a lot of you out there are Boldy James fans. I know a lot of people on Twitter that are locked in with his vinyl. He has a new vinyl coming out this Friday on Near Mint with some beautiful colorways. He does alternate covers, and always, his merch is always on point with the vinyl especially. But, you know, this album is the genesis of a lot of this. Go back to it if you didn't listen to it. Hear, you know, where a lot of this came from. I didn't even mention there's an Earl Sweatshirt feature on here on a song with Dash and Domogenesis. And Earl is very young, sounds very different than he does now. But I know that he was a very early supporter of Boldy James, you know, as a fan early on, like I was in that, you know, 2011, 2012 era. So it's fun seeing where all these artists are at, how far they've come. And Boldy James, I just could never have predicted where his career has taken him and what an incredible artist he is and what a catalog he has. There'll be many more Boldy James videos in the future. There's a lot of exciting stuff I'd love to share and will share. But that's the video for today, y'all. I had to get some Boldy James content in there. I got a few more heavy hitter artists that I haven't got to on the channel yet that I'll get to soon enough, but you got to save some in the stash for later, you know. So I appreciate y'all tuning in as always. Uncle Benji, peace out till next time.